right, thank you all for coming. My name is Sig Napstead. I'm the CTO of Alt Systems, and it's my pleasure to be your MC and your host for the evening. And before we start, I want to do a few obligatory shout-outs and thank yous. First of all, to the captain of the ship, the man at the helm, President and CEO of Alt Systems, Mr. John Guess. Also like to give a big shout out to my partner in crime, Brian Botel. Brian, unfortunately, wasn't well enough to make it tonight. We wish him a speedy recovery. And he's the vision behind all of this. He's worked really hard, put his heart and soul into it. He's the vice president of business development for Cutting Edge and Alt Systems. And we wish him well. Brian, thank you very much for all that you've done. Also, yes, come on, guys. He's going to watch the video. Thank you to the man behind the curtain pulling the strings and keeping the trains running on time, our very own Wizard of Oz, Larry Shanowski. And how about this venue, right? What a great spot. Everyone, yeah, very cool. So thank you to Sony Pictures Studios for having us here. You guys have been fantastic to work with. We'll be back and can't say enough great stuff about this location, so thank you for that. And thank you to all of you to suffering through traffic and power outages and fires, whatever you had to do to get here. SoCal traffic, right? But we appreciate you taking time out of your day to be here with us. So. And then last but not least, I want to give a thank you to our technology partners who are with us tonight, that sponsored us tonight. And for those of you that don't know Alt Systems yet, Alt Systems is LA's premier provider of compositing, finishing, DI, networking, and storage solutions. And earlier this year, Alt Systems merged with Cutting Edge. Cutting Edge was headquartered in San Francisco. Now, Cutting Edge has core area expertise in file-based workflows, and it's honestly the perfect merger. You couldn't have scripted a better outcome. I think we've got the best team. It's one company. We're operating as one company. It's one team. It's one ring to rule them all. It's one throat to choke, right? Nothing ever goes wrong, we know that. Software never has bugs, disks never die, and workflows never stop working, right? Right, wrong. Honestly, I think we have the best tech team in LA and Northern California as well. I really believe that. It's an honor to be working with all these talented individuals. Now, you combine that with the great sales team, fantastic operations, and our services department, and I think this merger has put us in the position to be the best source for the LA community. So let's get going. What is the cloud, right? Well, this is Microsoft's definition of it. Cloud's not a physical entity. It's a vast network of remote servers around the globe which are meant to operate as a single ecosystem. They're designed to store, manage data, run applications, right? But it can be public, private, hybrid, or a community cloud. And it doesn't have to be at Amazon or Microsoft, right? We can have an on-prem sort of cloud opportunity. So I think you'll find that starting with the cloud, it's relatively inexpensive to get started. Costs a little bit more as you go. And it might actually get fairly expensive to get your data back out of the cloud, right? So tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about transcoding in the cloud, artificial intelligence in the cloud, remote editorial, very cool. But we're also going to talk about the cloud as a storage tier, right? And how do we move our data? We're all familiar with our storage tiers in M&E, right? Tier 1, high-speed editorial, 4K, 8K workflows. This is your quantum system. This is your high-speed NAS, your high-speed SAN. Tier 2, nearline, not as fast, not edit room friendly fast, but great for offline sort of workflows. And Tier 3, of course, archives. This is where we might take things, put your data off to LTO tape for archive and that sort of stuff. But we can now think of the cloud as a Tier 4, Tier X, and that sort of stuff, right? What we're going to do tonight up here on the stage is I've loosely grouped 3 different presentations. So the first one is transcoding and AI and remote editorial in the cloud. Second one will be BYOC, right? Bring your own cloud. Come on, work with me. Hybrid cloud workflows. And the last one, where's my media? This one's really exciting to me. It's the data movers and lifecycle management and all that sort of stuff. So let's start with our first group, Avid, Telestream, and Varitone. Give them a big hand, folks. Thanks, guys. This is very well rehearsed. We added slides at the last moment, but I'm really, really, really proud and honored to be up here with all of these guys. I mean, these, you know, they don't consider themselves visionary, but I do, so it's a great team we've got. So first up, we have Richard Duke from Avid. Say hi, Richard.
Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and introduce yourself, yeah.
I'm the lead cloud architect for Avid, and going to show some fun and exciting things that we're doing inside the cloud, and back at our booth in the back, you're welcome to see some of those things and experience them yourself.
Great, and then we're going to show some stuff tonight, right?
Yep.
Awesome, great. So, you know, the cloud, remote editorial, you know, a lot of challenges, right? That's kind of the holy grail, I guess, right? So what's Avid's vision right now on cloud workflows?
So our vision of cloud workflows is all around collaboration. To us, the cloud enables new ways of working around the world and bursting when you need to burst, setting up a system very, very quickly, tearing it down very quickly. We repeatedly have people that come to us and say, I'm really interested in having 5 media composers, 30 terabytes of storage in the cloud for a weekend or for 3 weeks. You know, I'm cutting a pilot for a TV series. You know, we're cutting a feature. I need it for 18 weeks, something like that. So, you know, the ease of being able to spin up, run an environment for a period of time, and finish it and spin it right back down. So, so that's not just a myth; it's a reality.
There you go.
We're doing it.
Myth and reality for 200.
Right. So we have environments like this where the media composer, the application, is running in the cloud, but so is our Nexus file system. Our Nexus file system is kind of the core behind media workflows. Very, very powerful at delivering media storage to applications. And virtualizing that, we actually have the Nexus file system in the cloud in 4 different tiers. So very, very, very high performance all the way down to archive. In the cloud within the Nexus file system. But one of the biggest ones that is enabled is the ability to have high resolution content in the cloud, the application running in the cloud, being able to access it from a thin client. So to give you an example, here is a cloud media composer that we're going to show. This one's running in the cloud.
I'm really jaded by technology. If I hit play, there's a lot of people here. What's going to happen?
It's going to play.
Okay.
And by the way, Michael Krulik has it back in the back. You know, one of the things that we refer to as in this environment is called edit on demand. So you can see just maybe just a little stutter as you get going, but multicam. So we're playing, and this is high-res media, not proxy media. This is high-res media playing in the cloud. Obviously, we are at the mercy of the bandwidth that has been allotted to this event,
But let me say that we set this up last week, and there I was in the Santa Cruz Mountains up in the Redwoods on a laptop, on a Wi-Fi system, right? And it worked perfectly, right? It was super easy to set up, worked like butter. The ballistics were fantastic, right?
Yep.
So I imagine it'll work equally well at all the beautiful Southern California beaches, right? So all of you Avid editors now can take your Mai Tais to the beach and phone it in, right?
Yep.
That's the dream, right?
So and this can be multi-screen, by the way. So we need about 20 megabits per screen. So it can be 1 screen, 2 screen, 3 screen. You know, you can step it up to the number of screens that you need. So, and then we have some of our more advanced cloud editing environments where we have where we can do a direct connect, what's called Express Route inside of Microsoft Azure, where we can be directly accessing cloud storage, our Nexus file system, from on-prem. So in this environment, we can have the application running on-prem, and we can have the application running in the cloud, and sharing the same storage. So full collaboration. When you need high-resolution playback on-prem, you can have it, but you can keep the storage in the cloud. But you can also have virtual media composers running in the cloud to access it from remote locations, et cetera.
Did you want to touch on this?
Yeah, so this is Cloud UX. This is our browser-based UI in being able to access this. The same storage, the same content, looking inside of projects and being able to play, again, high-resolution media. So the piece of media that we have up here is high-res UHD content, playing, again, off of our Nexus file system inside of Azure, and you can see that we're playing a full timeline here as well. So we can manage the assets here. We can actually tier between our different tiers, tier between content that is on-prem, content that's in the cloud. This is all part of our Media Central platform.
Richard,
and again, fully running in the cloud.
Can I request different footage next time?
Yes. So you can actually
I'm teasing.
easily stretch that, make it bigger.
Yeah, no,
So-
it's fine. So,
Yeah, it's not super exciting content, is
That's
it? Leaves blowing in the
So-
in the breeze. And then this is some of our newer fun stuff that we're doing, where we're really doing multi-region collaboration. Today's filmmaking processes aren't in one studio and in one facility. All of the people aren't local, sitting, arriving at this studio, for instance. The reality is editors are in New York, visual effects are in Vancouver, other editors are in London. You can be shooting in Tunisia, right? The world has become an opportunity for using artists where they are, using collaborative workflows that enable you to tap in to the people where they are and doing production where it needs to happen. And not shuffling LTO drives back and forth and not shooting things across the world through Aspera, actually utilizing cloud backbones to get things into the cloud very quickly and get things across the cloud. And again, we can move massive amounts of media very quickly through the cloud backbone. So
Great.
These are some of our fun new projects.
It doesn't get more fun than this.
It's a lot of fun. Cloud workflows are a lot of fun.
And let me emphasize again that this is being shown in the back room, right?
Yes.
So please join us back there and you'll be able to see it more. Now, what we're trying to do tonight is just do a quick tour and a highlight touch points on all of these different manufacturers' products. So the intent is to get you to go back to the booth and you can do the deeper dive and ask all the important questions back then. So we're moving along kind of quickly. It won't be death by PowerPoint, but so thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.
Next up, Telestream. Larry Goodman, sales for the Western United States and Canada, right? Yep. You want to introduce
Thank
yourself?
you.
Yeah?
Yep, Larry Goodman, said it. I'm Director of Sales for the Western U.S., and happy to be here.
Great. So how many people know what Vantage is? Yes? Man, that's good. You're doing what? You're
That's
doing
pretty good.
well. You're doing well. But there's half of you that don't. So why don't you take a moment just to tell everybody what Vantage is?
Yeah, sure. So Vantage is Telestream's premier media processing engine. Not only is it a transcoder, but it is a workflow orchestration, workflow processing platform. It's extendable with connectors. And specific to this evening, we're here to talk about flexible deployment. It's really a hybrid model that'll work in the cloud and on premises. Most of you know Vantage as being an on-premises solution, and it continues to be an excellent choice for on-premises. But in response to our customers' needs, we've also developed it so that you can deploy it in a cloud, whether that be public cloud, private cloud. If you want to consume or pay for your usage on a consumption kind of model, we have flexible licensing. I like to say when you need it, where you need it, how you want to pay for it. And so in between the on-premises installs, the permanent license, if you will, and a SaaS, software as a service, sits with our Vantage 8 release, a piece called Vantage Cloud Port. And Vantage Cloud Port orchestrates, thank you.
Yeah.
Vantage Cloud Port orchestrates the trafficking of your media and when to spin up different Linux containers in the cloud to execute whatever technical task it is that you're asking Vantage to do. So we facilitate your peak bursts, or we can process media wherever your media is. We have some logic inside Vantage version 8 that is media aware, so we know which cloud provider, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, IBM, which region within their region map it's on, whether they have GPU abilities or not, and what the system utilization is. So we're media aware and we're Vantage system utilization aware. You can either force things to always run in the cloud, or you can let Vantage make that decision for you. Again, media aware and utilization aware. And then at the end of all that, we present you a bill for, what you actually made, how many minutes it was, and what you did. A J2K 4K file is going to cost you more than a 264 proxy, for instance. What it has up on screen right now is just sort of an infographic about what happens. So you have on the lower half, right, on the ground, you have your Vantage installation, and you have a workflow designer, and you've built your workflow how you want it. And through different tools and tricks in the UI, you go through and you cloud enable different parts of it. We're aware of where that storage is. If it's on-prem in your quantum storage, we can traffic it up to a cloud provider for you. If it's already, up on a cloud storage system, we can be aware of that and move from deep storage to working storage the files you need and then process there. And we have 6 basic actions that we do that for, and in the upper to your side in the upper left corner, you can see what those are. Predictable billing, right? Because there's a rate sheet. If you do this, it's going to cost you that. You get to decide where and how you want to use it. And it's truly, truly hybrid between on-premises and the cloud. And we're the only transcoding solution that we're aware of that is on multiple clouds in multiple regions. So we really empower you to work when you want, where you want, and how you want to pay for it.
Thanks, Larry. That's great.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Varitone, exciting stuff, right? So let me introduce Logan here. Logan, give us an introduction as to your role and title.
Yeah, hi, everybody. I'm Logan Ketchum, Director of Sales for North America for Media and Entertainment for Varitone.
And tell us a little bit about Varitone.
Yeah, so raise of hands. How many people in here, company-wise, are currently utilizing artificial intelligence in some form or fashion? It's got to be more hands than that. I know that we have some customers here that probably don't know that we might not know that we're customers.
Does Siri count? Alexa?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Varitone's a publicly traded company under VERI, Veri. We've been around since 2014. We've got offices, 5 different locations globally. And really what we created is, as you can see up here, hopefully it's not too confusing, is the first artificial intelligence operating system. So we're trying to make it easy for our customers who are primarily brands, broadcasters, and the like, to utilize artificial intelligence and different workflows throughout the organization with a plug-and-play sort of future-proof model. So if you look at from the adapter level up, so just use CNBC as an example, they're a customer of mine. We ingest their video stream literally as it broadcasts, and in real time we're pulling that into our platform via API adapter. And we're running that through that cognition layer that you can see there. And in that cognition layer, we have about 380 to 400 different cognitive models from Amazon, Google, Microsoft, the Titans, as well as, frankly, 2 guys in a garage that's got a really good face recognition model. And what's nice is that we're sort of, as Sig would say, a concierge service in that regard, where we manage the relationships with those AI providers, so that our customers can come in and just leverage the best of breed in each different category. Frankly, CNBC didn't come and ask me for the best transcription engine on the market or the best logo recognition engine on the market. They just said, Logan, I need to be able to track my promos and advertisements when they run, and I don't want to employ 4 people daily to do that. So we're able to run that through transcription, face recognition, trained to, I think it's now 1,000 different entities, different humans that they want to track, both their talent and public CEOs, public figures. Logo recognition, we use broad-based logo recognition. I believe for them it's Google logo recognition, so they're able to track pretty much every logo that comes on screen. And optical character recognition, so that literally we're scraping the screen every second. And within about 10 minutes of that content airing, they're able to come inside of our platform or via API harvest that metadata out into a MAM or a DAM environment for captions, et cetera. So just wanted to mention, this is sort of you want to tee this one up?
Sure. I'm a golfer.
Wrong sport, I guess.
Actually, cutting edge and alt systems, we've had a lot of success with world-class sports organizations. The Denver Broncos, the Giants, the Oakland A's, and Warriors, and Indians, and all kinds of different people. But in particular, the Giants is kind of a trophy account. It uses Avid resources. We're using Telestream on site, and Spectra Logic as well. And there's two visionaries, at the Giants, Paul Hodges and Brad Martins. And what they've done is they've taken 60 years of historical data, all the film, all the footage. Can you imagine going back and finding a film of the 1935 World Series, and that's the only example? So what they've done is they've digitized all of that, ingested it, brought it in through workflows through Telestream, and now we're going to hand it off to Varitone. So
yeah, so literally as it's ingested back from Iron Mountain, who's currently digitizing all their content, we're using Telestream, and they are shipping us that content in real time as they're getting it. When Paul and Brad came to us, they had a challenge. They had 20,000 hours of archive footage with, in some cases good, in some cases not so good, depending on the decade, structured metadata associated with those files. So they really had no way to take action on that. So they had projected and budgeted for 13 people to work 40 hours a week for a year to be able to add enough metadata to that library to be able to go and take action on that for their 60-year anniversary coming up. We were able to provide them a workflow that uses transcription, face recognition, logo recognition, and the like, trained to the entities they want to track. And we'll have that all spun up in a digital media hub portal, cloud access portal that talks to their MAM and DAMs internally, so they can search that in a month rather than waiting the entire year to do that. So again, big opportunity for us, and we're thankful for all the partners involved in that.
yeah, it's a great project. So AI is a bit scary, right? It's going to replace us all, and it's going to replace me as MC.
Well, I certainly hope not. I mean, I'm a sales guy.
They got their fingers crossed.
No, I think we're a long ways from that.
Okay.
True automation, I think we're a long ways off.
Great.
So I think we're all safe.
So big hand for these three folks. Thank you all. Let's invite up the next group. Squarebox, Cat TV, our friends from Quantum and Supermicro as well, please. So let's start with Squarebox, Cat TV. Jeremy, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Jeremy Strootman, VP of Biz Dev for Squarebox Systems. We make a media management platform called Cat TV. At its core, it is an asset management solution. It is growing every day, and what it's being utilized for is growing every day. So the customers are really keeping me educated on workflows and what the challenges are.
Absolutely. So we're big fans of Cat TV and Squarebox and Jeremy. We probably have about 70 deployments from operating rooms to stadiums, you name it. So big fans of the product. And with clients, large data sets, how do you get started with a MAM?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? So when is the right time? How do you get started? That differs based on what the needs are. Some folks are looking for a simple logging tool, right? And that may be in the case of just logging dailies. But more often than not, it really is brought into play when you've got disparate systems with disparate bits of metadata, right? So one of the things that we pull together, we aggregate all of the metadata, no matter what system it's living in, whether it's rights management, whether it's in project management, whether it's in a transcode engine like Vantage. We're aggregating all of the relevant metadata. We're translating that metadata and interpreting it, and then we're automating processes based on what that metadata is, right? These days, what's really pushing asset management or a media management platform as it relates to the cloud is we're finding a lot of folks that, and this may lead into your next question, but a lot of folks that archive directly to the cloud, maybe IT snapshotting, and they're pushing a lot of media up into the cloud. And we're finding that folks have 2 and 3 and 10 petabytes worth of stuff up there and not really knowing what it is. So some of what's driving a first step into a MAM is really just auditing what you have.
Yeah, take an inventory.
Yeah.
Do we dare show them Cat TV?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Cat TV is very simple in the fact that it does have a spin up user interface. But as Sig has alluded to before, it can be a very complex integration based on the workflow needs. But the one thing we do like is, something comes out of the box.
Right. So I thought one thing that might be worth showing is just talking about, notice on the side here, we can actually add Azure AI, transcribing audio, labeling images, as well as Google AI, annotating video, and so on and so forth. We've got AI plugins built right into the architecture of CatDV now, right? All it is a phone call and some licenses, and you're off and running. Not really. There's a little bit more work involved in that, and that's where people like Varitone are great because they're kind of that concierge service. It takes a little bit of time to set each one up and find out which one does the best text and transcribing and so on and so forth. But
Right.
it's all built in. It's fairly enterprise, right?
Yes, absolutely.
In addition to S3,
Yes.
right?
S3 and other cloud providers. So as I kind of mentioned before, the idea was we need to build archive solutions for these cloud providers. So we've got plugins and things that operate at an API level, but more often than not, we're sucking that data into the MAM. So rather than pushing it out, which ultimately you get to based on rules and policies, and you have an archive policy once you have a MAM in place and all of that, but it usually starts. I got 2 petabytes up there and I don't know what it is. So we'll suck it in first and then we'll decide what we want to archive moving forward.
So here's a quick example I just did last night at the last minute. We don't have audio with our AV system for this, so sorry about that. But this is actually Johnny Cash with an acoustic guitar saying the Gettysburg Address, right? Fired it up, sent it up there. 2 minutes later, bang, came back with all of this with temporal markers right here. So pretty cool, right? Just a simple right click. And if we wanted to send that to S3, I could just simply right click here and send this off to Amazon right here, to whatever bucket I might have. So built right into the MAM.
Yep, absolutely. We have about 30 or so archive plugins, including the plugins for Quantum and our friends at Spectra with Black Pearl and all of that.
What comes first, the archive or the MAM?
Well, I used to be that guy who was like, if you're putting it on LTO tape and you don't have any sort of database record of what it is,
Right.
It's a pain in the butt to get that off of tape, right? So please get some sort of engine, a database, anything. I would just tempt you out on a database just to
Right.
get info into that. But these days, it's less relevant. It really is. So as I said, the cloud offers in terms of redundancy and disaster recovery and archival a lot of options for getting our data up there. The nice part is these solution sets that we have, whether it's the MAM or as Larry pointed out with the Telestream side, we can work natively within those buckets now and natively with those objects. And so really, it doesn't matter anymore. I would say protect your data. And when you really have a workflow need in a MAM or something along those lines, can really prove a true ROI to a business case, whatever that is, that's the time for a MAM.
Yeah, great, very cool. Big fan of this, and myth or reality, AI in your MAM, S3 buckets in your MAM, right?
Fully deployed in the cloud as well, if you don't
One
want
for reality,
anything.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jeremy. So next up, Brandon from Quantum. Brandon,
Hey.
you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Brandon Lindauer. I am a solutions architect. I'm a sales engineer here at Quantum. Been here a couple of years, and spent a decade plus on the customer side working with Quantum and actually pretty much every other technology here as well, just like the rest of you guys.
So we talked earlier about tiers of storage and different types of storage, right? So StoreNext is your file system,
Yes.
and it can span everything from NVMe to cloud and everything in between, I guess. You want to talk a little bit about StoreNext?
Yeah, so I know a lot of you know what StoreNext is. I see a lot of my customers out there, but for those of you who don't know, StoreNext is a file system. We provide fast storage primarily for the media and entertainment industry. So Quantum on StoreNext provides storage for everything from medical research to geospatial, video surveillance to government defense stuff, and primarily our biggest focus is the media and entertainment industry. StoreNext is specifically built and tuned for media workflows to operate well in this industry, and Yeah, I mean, that's our big focus.
Well, you touched on it. Where are we as an industry? How do we leverage the cloud?
Yeah, so it's
I mean,
an
where does
interesting thing.
Quantum play in that, right?
Yeah, so Sting and I were talking a couple weeks ago, and it's an interesting
Over margaritas.
over margaritas. Yes, lots of alcohol. I'll be out there in a little bit. It's an interesting place we're at in the industry right now. A few years ago, I had a conversation with somebody I was working with, and said, just the cloud's just not ready. The M&E industry and the cloud just don't mesh well together. Bandwidth isn't there, prices aren't there. It just doesn't make sense for the media industry. Today, where we're at right now, well, that's a different story. I mean, it's not like the switch flips and everything's right and it works. It's a transition period. But you guys saw it a few minutes ago. Avid up here, they're doing editing in the cloud, right? We as an industry are moving to a point where everything is moving toward the cloud, or a lot of things are moving toward the cloud. There are a lot of other parts of the industry that are going to stay on premise for a long time. You're going to have a hard time doing, high-end finishing, color correction, high-end online editing in the cloud, for a few more years, for a while. That's actually, it's good for us. That's one of our specialties, right? The high-end workflows, the high-res workflows, the things that you need lots of speed, lots of bandwidth for. Quantum really serves that side of the industry. But we're not, we're not ignorant of the fact that the cloud has some major benefits, right? So you look at we look at the cloud, and you look at the scalability and the burstability. I mean, for me to turn around and say I want to render something out to 15 different formats 600 times a day, that requires a lot of compute power. The cloud looks very, very attractive for that kind of thing, right? It offers a lot of benefits to our industry, to the kinds of workflows that everybody in this room works with on a daily basis.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about transcode, where the files are, and all that sort of stuff too. I think that was after the margaritas.
Yeah, it's getting a little fuzzy in that.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my big things is a lot of people like to look at what we do in post-production and say, this is editorial. Editorial is just a part of post-production. So much of what our customers do, what people in this industry do, is servicing, right? Is transcoding, is delivering, is QC, is all kinds of things that are not just creative editorial, but all the things that surround that. When we look at like I was saying, you look at something like transcoding, being able to burst, being able to scale in the cloud, it's really a useful tool. So where we are today, there are still a lot of things that the reality is that it stays on-prem, and it needs to stay on-prem because that's where we are technologically and as an industry. But there are great opportunities for having a lot of our workflows move to the cloud and be able to utilize the resources that are up there.
Right. Thanks. Next up, Phil Noyce. Super.
My name is Phil Noyce. I'm a storage architect in Supermicro's storage business unit. And my focus is on scale-out storage solutions. So for those in the audience who aren't familiar with Supermicro, we are a developer of high-performance server solutions. We have an extensive portfolio of servers, cheap and deep storage. Yeah, so here we have some examples.
Now, remember, the cloud, there is no cloud, it's just somebody else's computer, right? Right. So, okay. There it is. That is the cloud. Yeah.
So our products are based on a modular and scalable architecture. So basically, whether you need a GPU optimized kind of workload or storage, edge, IoT, we basically provide the hardware building blocks for being able to deploy cloud. So in addition to the workloads there, so basically one of our value propositions is being very fast and time to market with our product technologies. A couple of years ago, we did not have a storage portfolio per se, but we have since developed this to include both deep, large capacity storage and high IOPS storage as well. So in addition to our platforms here, one of the things that we also do is to work with our cloud ecosystem partners, so Canonical, Rantis, Red Hat, SUSE. So we also work with them to go ahead and develop reference architectures, which are blueprints of tested solutions for OpenStack, Kubernetes, scale-out storage. So, and these are tested configurations that our customers can go ahead and deploy, and we can basically provide a very flexible framework for different types of workloads.
So the point is, there is no cloud with this sort of hardware. Now we have a Fat Twin, a Twin Pro, and a Big Twin. It feels like I'm looking at guitar amps. Right?
Yeah.
So tell us about the next slide here.
So in addition to our product portfolio, we also offer a range of integration services as well. So, so what this provides is customers being able to go ahead and either just procure the straight hardware building blocks for deploying different types of workloads. If a customer wants to deploy a scale-out type of configuration, we have a very good rack integration service, which we can go ahead and basically rack up the hardware building blocks, network switches. We can also go ahead and actually provide software integration services as well for this. So basically, it is designed to be a turnkey type of appliance solution as well for different types of workloads. So basically, we are trying to go ahead and provide a range of services as well to go ahead and be able to go ahead and drop ship to our customers.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
All right. It's all about the hardware. So big hand for round 2. On to round 3.
Thank you, Sig.
Thanks, guys. So next up, please welcome Spectra Logic, StrongLink, Strongbox, and Storage DNA. Spectra Logic. So Hussein, let's give an introduction. You're VP of Development, Business Strategies. Tell us a little bit about your role, the company first.
Yeah, Hossein Zia Shakri. I'm basically responsible for our media entertainment business, from the strategy to markets to where our focus goes, and pretty much looking into the future and see where we should go next, where it fits your needs.
Now, Hussein's been there 35 years. I looked you up on LinkedIn. But Spectra is now
Started
40,
too early.
40 years old now. Spectra is, right? What's next for Spectra?
I see a lot of customers here. Most of you guys know our brand as a tape library supplier, as a data protection and archiving solution provider. But with everything that is happening in the market in terms of, so much changes that are occurring, so much shift and all that. So everybody's got to be more agile. Everybody's got to be more efficient. These days we expect the content to be available regardless of geographic needs, where it should be and all that. And of course, cost always plays a role in that as well too. So from Spectra Logic's perspective, that's where we're focusing. It's not about as much, storage plays a big role, but more important than that is really managing the data, managing the assets. So our focus is more around providing solutions that will help with making sure that the assets, that we have efficient workflows, and to make sure that we can move the assets in a very efficient way based on needs as business needs changes and all that. So that's what we're doing, where we're introducing a lot of software application to help with the efficient workflows and basically bring visibility and insight to your data and how they're used so that you can make sure that it's in the proper place. So that's where the
I'm
focus
making
is going
Hussein
to.
talk about this particular product, Black Pearl, right?
Yeah.
We've got some interesting things coming up after this. But this is a product I'm really excited about, converged storage, and it's a gateway, kind of a gateway drug to the cloud, right?
That's right.
And we've had great success with this, the giants amongst other people. Just tell us a little bit about the Black Pearl product.
So this is something that we saw a number of years ago, somewhere about 7 or 8 years ago, is where we saw the shift were happening in the industry. One of the biggest issues was basically the cost of storing assets or what have you. So typically you would buy a storage, but at the same time you pay a certain amount of dollars basically toward managing that storage. So we saw an area that we could improve really in total cost of ownership or lowering it down. At the same time, there was an issue of how do you decouple data and assets basically from the application, from the end users. And object storage to us was really the one that we thought solves a lot of issues. And we're going to talk about that quite a bit. So what Black Pearl is basically is an object storage platform that creates a common namespace across different storage mediums, including cloud. So, object storage is not something just about erasure coded disk, but it can be table, it could be cloud, it could be any sort of storage medium that is introduced in the future. So that's what Black Pearl is. So you set basically policies, and it manages assets across storage medium while decoupling it from the application and from the end user. So from the end user's perspective, when you request for an asset, you shouldn't worry about where that asset is coming from. All you care about that it gets to you fast and reliably, and you know that in the background it is protected. And that's what Black Pearl is all about.
Great. All right, you snuck this slide in on me at the last moment, so it's all up to you.
So
it looks great.
Yeah.
And let me say that we've deployed these. These are the Real Broker's a fantastic product. But go ahead.
So I wanted to just talk about the object storage, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more, and I encourage everybody to look at object storage as a storage architecture paradigm for your environment. There's a lot of value to that. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But one of the things that we've done with Black Pearl is basically the introduction of Real Broker, where it is a software layer that sits in front of Black Pearl, and it manages and facilitates workflows to move assets from anywhere to anywhere. And that could be basically from production storage to an object platform where it could be managed across different storage medium. And that way, you can really scale it. What I wanted to show is how simple it could be, just a Black Pearl with some amount of disk, or at any point of time, you can introduce tape into it, you can introduce cloud to it, you can introduce remote site or multi-sites. So it is that object storage capability that gives you the automation and the agility to add as you need as you move forward.
Does everybody know what object storage is? Yeah? Oh, we need a quick definition.
Okay.
I'll leave it to the visionaries.
So object storage has been around for a while, but we've gotten better and we're using it more broadly these days. But it brings certain attributes that really helps with managing content, managing asset, managing data. So some of those attributes is, first and foremost, it's the inclusion of metadata. So for every data asset that you've got, you can have as much as metadata so that at any point in time, you can find that asset. That's a huge part of it. The other thing is that we're collecting more and more data. So traditional file systems cannot manage basically this large number of files and what have you. So it has a flat structure where you can really scale it to almost an infinite level. And the third one is very important is it has a very simple RESTful API, so it is very easy to integrate it with any number of applications. So when we live now in an environment where multi-tenancy and multi-user is a huge part of this thing, and having that simple API would make it to really automate the whole thing. So that's what object storage is all about.
There's going to be a test later, right? So tell us a little bit about your two-tier model. I love this concept, primary tier, perpetual tier, which is all the object storage and everything else. What's your new vision for this?
So this is something that we've been working for a while, and what most of you have had some amount of experience with hierarchical storage management. That has been traditionally the way you manage your data, and you move them from tier to one, and from another tier to another tier of storage or what have you. And typically these are storage layers that are costly, that are complex and what have you. And they manage everything from a file system perspective. With object storage, the need being for agility and efficiency and really being able to automate things, we see the world basically differently. We now see the infrastructure of the world as two-tier model. A production tier model, that's where you do all your editing, that's where you do your rendering, that's where you do all that. But you also, once the asset is finished, you want to move it to a perpetual tier, which is object storage based. And that medium can be any of those things. But the whole important thing is that it's an object storage platform.
So in a minute or less, give us store cycle, because we are time constrained.
Sure.
But go ahead.
So the way we see things, anything that is managed by a production asset management or a media asset management application, that is what we call a managed asset. But in every environment, and in this market, post and production market, there are a lot of assets, or we collect a lot of files that no one has any idea what they are, where they are, how often they get used, how old they are, and what have you. And one of the things that we've done, we've introduced Store Cycle. And what this is a storage management application that basically crawls all the file system that nobody knows what's in them and how often they get used, collects metadata based on that, and you can use that metadata to move the content from one tier to another tier of storage or cloud or what have you. And we will give you basically an exact view of the cost saving associated with that or what have you. As part of that process, you can also add metadata to all the jobs that you post so that anytime in the future that someone else comes and wants to use that, they will use that metadata to search that. And this can be obviously integrated with asset management application, so it can be under control of an asset management. And that's what Store Cycle is all about.
All right, Floyd Kristofferson, CEO of StrongLink. Let's roll.
Sure. Some of you may have heard of StrongBox. It was a tape virtualization product, basically a NAS gateway in front of tape libraries, that worked across any tape library. What we realized years ago is that our customers, although they were typically using this for archive and being able to manage that like a NAS, is they had a bigger problem, and that is heterogeneous storage in their environment. You may have a very neat workflow in one area, but then you've got these outliers of other storage types that might be around, or transitions of how to incorporate new technology that is, your old one is not ready to be retired, but you've got new technology that you need to incorporate. Or, as you've heard others talk about, how do you even know what's on there? So we conceived of StrongLink that really to address this problem of siloization of data as a platform that is vendor neutral, that is meant to be a control mechanism that's not capacity based in terms of licensing. It's your content, so no changes to the content, and being able to manage this at scale and being able to have a scale-out architecture so that you harvest and aggregate metadata, as you want to maybe show the next slide.
Yeah, let's do metadata.
Yeah, so by being able to harvest and aggregate these metadata types, which may be simply as being able to present that up to a unified layer for other applications or MAMs or other things to access, but also being able to automate the creation of custom metadata. And not just a tag, but this could be a job sheet, or it could be other things that can be done on the fly. So, not having to have, any proprietary aspects to this, not being limited to in or out of the data path, being able to manage the storage, being able to present this as a global namespace,
Yep.
So that any of your storage assets, whether it's tape, we work with Spectra. We have many environments where we stripe together multiple black pearls to be able to overcome that and to be able to scale out. And with a scale-out architecture so that as you do have legacy storage or storage islands, you can virtualize the whole lot and construct those virtual views out through any protocol out the front. Add an object store, but you need NFS or CIFS or SMB access, you can look at that, or look at it as an entire global namespace. So in a nutshell, being able to be vendor neutral and provide you with that control layer that then you can feed your applications or then feed your workflows and automate that all behind the scenes is really the design principle behind StrongLink.
So I think one of the great things is the users get a focus on their data, really, and not where their data lives, right?
That's right. That's right. That's what we call it. It's data-centric and storage-aware. You don't want to be a storage wrangler. You want to work on your files.
Great. All right. TC, you're on.
Well, hey guys.
Well, hold on a second, guys.
Yeah.
I told you there's a lot of brain power, horsepower in this building tonight, right? So master's degree in computer science engineering from Carnegie Mellon. Come on, I'm going to embarrass you, right? This guy knows his stuff. Please,
Yeah.
go ahead.
You know,
TC.
pretty
I've been
smart.
given-
I looked you up.
I've
Artificial
been-
intelligence told me.
Yeah, I've been given the graveyard shift, so just hang in there. I need a drink too, so
Yes.
we'll get past this together. So.
Yeah. You could just jump in. You had some great, we talked the other day, you had some great ideas about, management from yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It sounds like a Beatles song, but tell us a little bit about your vision for that. So.
I mean, yeah, our vision is sort of built from what we hear our customers want, right? And, you kind of go back 15 years when I was probably just coming out of university. And we started to build a platform for this industry. I mean, what you heard was, data management was, hey, you got your analog tapes in, you ingested it into a NAS or a SAN, you did your nonlinear edit, you put the tapes back, and that was it. It was simple, right? Well, you fast forward a few more years, and now you're talking about a digital transformation. We're now talking about online storage, nearline storage, LTOs, and that's when we started seeing sort of this migration of IT technologies into media, right? We're talking about backup, replication, HSM. And we've sort of lived in that world for the last 10 years, but in the last year, we've started seeing a big transformation in the dialogue we're having with customers. And I would say it's been in two key areas, right? The first one has been, we're finding pipelines and data creation and data manipulation and post-production becoming a lot more distributed, right? We're finding that the data management challenge is not now centered in one location, but it's across multiple locations. People are creating content in the field. It needs to be backed up in the field. That content now needs to come back into a central facility where it may get ingested. You create proxies, then you got an editor working in another location, you got grading in another location. And I really feel that, one of the roles that a data management solution has to start playing is, how do you help the end user manage their data in motion across multiple sites and also in the cloud, right? That's kind of the second big piece we're seeing. I mean, the title of this, of this whole presentation is cloud myth or reality? And I would say used to be a myth is turning into reality in many ways, right? And hence the role of a data management engine also starts to change with your data now moving into the cloud, because everything in cloud is a lot more expensive, right? It's like sitting in a cab and seeing the meter run up constantly, except you don't see the meter. You just, are given the bill at the end of your ride, and it's a huge bill, right? So who's gonna manage your data in the cloud, right? And these are big challenges out there that I think we all, as data management vendors, need to essentially assist all of you with. There's an eye chart up there. I'm not even going to try to go into
Don't
it.
try, yeah.
Right, but high level.
But, break it down into data visibility and data mobility. I think that's a great way to think about it.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, our concept's pretty simple. We've listened to our customers, and we're finding two big challenges jump out at them. One is, where is my data, irrespective of where I create my data, irrespective of how I would say ill-mannered my AEs are and how they're naming their files. I need you to track everything, right? So the first thing we're trying to handle or manage is an engine that gives you visibility into all your data, whether it be on a camera card or USB drive or in the cloud, right? That's one piece of what our engine does for you. And then the second one really comes around managing your data and moving it around as you move your pipeline across the world and into the cloud, right? We've had conversations about now Avid Nexus running in the cloud. And what we're building in-house is, hey, if you're running Nexus in the cloud, how are you going to back up your Nexus in the cloud? Are you going to back it up on-prem? Probably not, because you're going to get hit with an egress that you'll remember forever, right? So if you're running Nexus in the cloud, you got to back up Nexus in the cloud. All right, who's going to do that for you? And these are big challenges that we're trying to think about before you guys hit them, right? And I think all of us are doing that, right? Is how do we get ahead of your bills at Amazon, or is yours going to charge you, right? So.
Great. So DNA Fabric is a product Alt Systems is very excited about. So I think we're going to get a lot of traction with that. So
Hopefully so.
Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah, he's embarrassing.
Hey guys, big hand for round 3. I have one more session, Michael, if you want to come up. And remember, we have 3 rooms in the back. You're about 5 minutes away from margaritas and some great food. So Michael Roundy, CEO of Pixpan, and he gets his own spot just because we couldn't fit 4 chairs up here. But this is a product we're also very excited about and we're starting to get a lot of traction with. So why don't we just, and not to keep you too long, but why don't you just give us a quick introduction to Pixpan maybe, and then we can jump right into some of the cloud challenges that you're solving.
Great. Pixpan is a software company, and we're all about accelerating data. And we also have a specialty in the media business, which is increasingly all data. So Sig asked me, what are some of the bigger challenges that you see across the customer base? And really, I'm going to highlight 2. One is complexity. So most people experience the cloud these days through an application. And some of the applications have done a good job of, there's something you're familiar with on the ground, and now they've added an extension into the cloud. But for people who step out of that or who need to get to applications, all cloud applications that are standalone up in the cloud, it's extremely complex. So a great number of people that we've dealt with have come to us and said, look, we have tried working with the cloud ourselves. It's just not worth the time. We'll do it later. It's just and these are IT veterans, who've been around for a long time. So you'd think it'd be very easy, but it's extremely complex.
Great.
The second thing is the speed, how slow it is for large files. So what we've done in our software is really create this highly complex technical slide here. We've created the easy button for that. For moving slides, this is the easy button. We take the complexity out of it. And one important piece of that, too, is taking out the CLI, which is what a lot of the cloud manufacturers base this on, and have the speed. So you're no longer having your Chevy. You've got your McLaren now, and you can race around very fast.
Hit the easy button. Okay, so about getting in and out of the cloud, a couple of different ways.
So there are actually 3, when we're talking about large amounts of data into the cloud, there are 3 ways to get into the cloud. One is the being able to upload to the cloud via the network. And this is our product Pixmover that does that with a very simple interface on premise, or being able to go into a Snowball, and Snowball being a device that is basically a bunch of disks and so on, and that you download to that, and then that goes up to the cloud. Or the third way is to go from another part of the cloud to where you want to get it to, S3 to S3, or it could be from a partner of yours who's sending you something, or you're delivering to the part. So all 3 ways are, when you're talking about hundreds of terabytes and so on, are very challenging, and the software makes it extremely easy, and in the cloud, pay as you go, basically on demand.
Now we had a McLaren up there, so how can we go even faster?
So we go even faster than that. We can
Tesla.
break the sound barrier by real-time compression of the various largest files, that is DI and uncompressed camera raw. We can make those a smaller payload right in the speed path of the network, and we can increase the speeds that we already had from the first slide by 2 or 3 times as well. So that means that we can go from in the S3 to S3, 60 gigabits a second to well over 100 gigabits a second. Much faster than you can go with your terrestrial network.
And so look out a few years now. What's the future do you see for? So
the future is being able to upload your content right away, and then as soon as it hits the cloud, you make a copy there and send it to other places with the cloud, and to be able to simultaneously download it to another location so that in effect it's like a point-to-point, but via the cloud, and you're not having to use either the internet or some sort of dedicated terrestrial network.
Okay.
That future is now.
It
So
is.
that's something we're just introducing now. So.
That's your favorite phrase, right? So we are demonstrating this in the back. Stay with me, Michael. So one of the things we wanted to talk about, Amazon talks about a migration bubble, basically a confluence of you got a bunch of data, your pipe's only so big, do you have the IT resources, do you have the money to get all your data to the cloud? Well, we've been working with PixSpan, and PixSpan works well with Snowball Edge, which is basically a device, right, which we can transfer the data faster than Amazon can, right? 3 times faster? Right. So what we're proposing tonight actually is migration as a service. So some of the challenges I've run into with clients is basically, I'll go to a client, we'll talk about getting things into the cloud, and they got 200 terabytes. How are you going to get that in the cloud in any reasonable amount of time and keep up with your daily workflows, right? So what if Alt Systems offered migration as a service? White glove sort of concierge service, we come on site, we do a discovery day with you, spend a couple of days there on site with PixSpan and a Snowball. We get all your data loaded securely and safely up to the cloud, right? And now once we have DR and parity in the cloud, we can leave our PixSpan behind and keep up with our daily deltas, right? Would that be cool? Oh, yeah? All right. Can I hear an amen? All right. So we are announcing this tonight that we're going to offer migration as a service. We have some brochures in the back. We have a really talented tech from Alt Systems in the back who can demo. We have the brain trust here with Michael. Love to answer some questions. We'd also like to get your comments and inputs from that. So I know you're all thirsty. I know you're all hungry. You guys have been great. Hopefully it wasn't death by PowerPoint, but I hope that was a lot of great information tonight. And again, please go back to the tables, go back to the rooms and take a tour there. That's kind of the intent here, is to kind of get your interest up. And let's have a drink. So thank you all for coming.